Hello, and welcome to the Philosophy Hour Show. This transmission is brought to you by Omnia Collective Creativity, channeler of the Soul Soup Democracy. The following shall be used to describe the philosophy created between the 5th of February, 2021 and today, the 21st of December, 2022. Ready? Let's begin. Hi, it's Omni of Omnia Collective Creativity. Here's the story of how my philosophy was created over 684 days.
Once upon a time, there was a dragon named Jeru. I shall be using this as the starting point of today's story, wherein the topics of cosmic ecology are discussed. Jeru is pronounced Jaru, and is from a planet far off in Draco. None know which planet or which star he comes from, which is perhaps the best, given information in the multiverse onion travels like wildfire when on the intergalactinet. As such, let's say that Jeru leaves his home world with his wife, Aquita, and goes to Earth. It's 600,000 years before present being 2022 Common Era. Jeru and Aquita settle on Earth in what is now the Mediterranean in TLD3, the third discovered timeline of the Coven Council. 1, and in this spot, dragons are born from the two lovers, and this begins the lives of dragons on Earth. Fast forward 400,000 years to Lemuria, located where Hawaii is now. Humans in this timeline were created as in our timeline, TLD4. 2. These humans were seen as great genetic material to mix with dragon DNA to create reptilian humanoids known as homogons and aquatkins. 3. Jeru and Aquita taught these new hybrids their beliefs. And over the next 200,000 years, these became crystallized into dragonism. 4. One expression of my cosmic ecology philosophy. Beliefs. In dragonism, as in cosmic ecology, the mind and nature are reflective of each other. Think of the external world as the reflection of the internal. This idea is literally true in cosmic ecology. So what is this nature-adjacent mind? Imagine you, the listener, are on a boat in the ocean and you stumble upon an island. The eastern horizon is lit by the rising sun. To make telling cardinal directions easier, yea for coincidental conveniences and hypothetical scenarios. Anyhow, you come ashore on the eastern side of this island and see trees, flowers, and all things typical of a tropical island. You think, what a nice place to settle for camp with my shipmates, but something catches your eye. Each flower is labeled with things like creativity and boundless joy. You turn to look at the trees. A giant redwood is labeled wisdom, a small shrub learner of the universe, and the grass begs for you to permit its words into your mind. To hear of the wisdom of the subconscious, represented by the underground of this island. Then the redwood speaks, and you have to listen, because this is a hypothetical scenario and I say so. It says, "Greetings. This is the thinking island. For yourself. You have come to learn of the vistas of cosmic ecology and dragonism, the philosophies of dragons, awakened men, and those within the Coven Council of Witches. 5. All the wisdom you'd like to know is disclosed within this island, from your desires in the sands near the shoreline, to the dark and watery woes within the emotion ocean's depths. You shall learn about these things and more on your journey through the 5 spaces of cosmic ecology and dragonism." You reply, "Mr. Redwood, sir, what does all this mean? Am I going crazy?" The redwood laughs. "No. Crazy is but a societal dismissal of the path to the unknowns of the multiverse's mysteries. Come, take a leaf from my branches and partake in this journey with me through the 5 spaces, starting with the most fundamental space, DNA space." You agree, and the redwood explains, DNA is the most fundamental part of the divinely endowed conscious creature, be it a human, dragon, or hypothetically superconscious, tree like myself. It dictates everything undifferentiated stem cells become, what diseases are present and turned on, and the contributing factors to personality tendencies, as found out in many twin studies human psychologists have conducted over the years. This space is represented by a genetics lab, where people can hop inside cells and change their DNA to make them as powerful or as consciously unhindered as possible, to end disease and aging. But there's a price. Rushing into alterations to self lets one away from a strong foundational understanding of what goes into changing the self. So let's go outward from the DNA to something more familiar. Mind space, where you came to talk to me, dear listener. Here, the eastern side of this thinking island upon which you stand is the garden of creativity and blossoming ideas to trade with others via ideological exchange. 6. Or to meditate on how to better oneself. It is the peaceful nature escape where peace is achieved, communion with the sunny soul self above the treetops, and much needed relief are experienced. This is a great place when your mind is healthy and strong. You stare in awe at the redwood. But what about when it's not a healthy mind? The redwood smiles emotionally. A face pops onto the wire trunk, at about 5 feet into the air. Yes, it says to you, about that. The unhealthy version of a mind means the flowers are not tended to, that your ideas are infiltrated by negative ones, or weeds, and you lose the beauty of the tropical island as the emotion ocean and you realize you live upon a weed-choked semi-arid continent. This is an unhealthy mind actualized in nature's language. Okay, that's an unhealthy mind, but what else is there? What about emotions, thoughts, logic? Yes, those. To the left of this garden are a couple mountains, where you can climb into the heights of wonder and learn of the soul's wisdom beyond even what I can provide. The rain shadow of these mountains includes a desert upon the ground, and that is where harsh realizations occur. To the left of this desert is Logic Nation, where math, mental processing, and the many other daily tasks of intelligent people occur. This marks the western side of your thinking island, after which you re-enter the endless, sometimes alienating emotion ocean. And what is this emotion ocean, Mr. Redwood? I shall go there next. The emotion ocean extends forever in all directions, broken by every thinking island of every mind with divinely endowed consciousness within a planetary collective consciousness. The Gaia grid has its own thinking island, but it's represented by the full planet herself, all tectonic plates of islands and continents your minds live upon being where her mind resides. So think of the space between the tectonic plates in the mantle and the top of the crust. How does this space between the mantle and crust relate to the emotion ocean? I'm getting there. This space is the bridge between your thinking island and the Earth's. Your subconscious thrives here metaphorically. And the emotion ocean holds your darkest secrets which are related to the subconscious mind, and holds caves in closer communion with Gaia, and this space is also where you can connect with her consciousness. Also, your sadness, loss, distress in the form of sea foam and whirlpools, etc., are present here in this emotion ocean, the representation of unresolved emotions that cannot be healed, but managed. It takes going to heart space to heal your emotional issues, but I'll reach that point in this discussion at a later time. What about fiery emotions, and the positive ones? Those are represented by volcanic activity just below the surface of the ocean and, regarding the positive emotions specifically, the beauty within the sparkles of refracted light bouncing off the moving water near the shoreline. On a serene summer day. This makes sense so far, but what else exists, beyond the mind space I came to, the DNA space you described, and the emotion ocean surrounding my thinking island? All right, the Redwood replies, let's look at the other two spaces before returning to heart space, the fifth and last space in this discussion, and how it can be applied to the real world upon your return to your regular life. I'm ready, Mr. Redwood. Next is a more fun one. Dream space. It is the mind when asleep. The emotions and creativity discussed earlier come together here, where anything is possible. In the story of the multiverse onion, it was created by Catalia Swine after her release from imprisonment within a portal, alongside bridging it with the liminal space called Transcendence, created in 2004 by Ben-Gift the Bobian. 7. This dreamlike space includes a large forest with trees that take one into other areas of life and the universe for creative or exploratory endeavors. A little different from the dreamland and the other timelines under the Coven Council, this space holds magical qualities and godlike beings close to their inner source magnificence. Whatever you want can happen here. Some beings live here as this is a lowered entry-level access point to the astral. Transcendence is what lets one into the middle and high astral realms. Dream space is visually a whimsical map in most other timelines that aren't TLD1, the timeline under the Coven Council, which is where War of the Realities through Coven Council cycle take place. In other timelines, for instance, Dreamland includes Nightmare Nation, Angel Nation, 4 land, some rivers, and 5 oceans. It has a place called the Hall of an area on the eastern side called Forgetfulness Forest, and a math beast roams somewhere in Dreamland's depths. Note that dream space is called Dreamland in TLD3 and beyond. And obviously, dream space itself has a nightmare nation northwest of the forest and an angel nation northeast, where good dreams happen and one may, if they desire, exit dream space into either Transcendence or the Angelverse, where Catalius now resides, styling herself Mother Setria of the Angelverse, Mother of Angels and the Witch Mother to the Coven Council's original 66 witches, who she raised herself in times long gone. She no longer is bound by time and space and goes where she pleases, or so the legends from TLD1 say. But she is important, because she can interact with Dreamspace/Dreamland to help you on your self-improvement journey. This, I can sense, is a good thing, for anyone listening to this episode across time and space, and in the many vistas and dimensional pockets inside the multiverse onion. So, next time you fall asleep in the real world, remember the space you enter in REM is more than brain-contrived nonsense. It can be powerful when used correctly, and who knows? Maybe one day you shall enter Mob Sphere and find the lessons the multiverse onion Pentasaurus has to offer to be useful. And so ends this segment of the discussion on dream space, the place of creativity, nightmares, and transcending one's regular, everyday life. So we've gone through DNA space, mind space, the emotion ocean, and dream space. And next, listener standing before me on your thinking island, says the redwood, is soul space. Now here is where everything gets complicated. We have Thumdorian, pronounced Thumdorian, philosophy, 8, to go through here. This is the epitome of cosmic ecology, because it connects all the other spaces together in this beautiful soul space. That sun up there that you see in the east, rising up into the top of the sky above my endlessly high branches, is this sun of soul space. When you're in the glowing sphere, you become immersed in a space of creativity and joy where you have control over all the other spaces and you have mastery over all of yourself. The space was created by Randolph Frederick Sims, Ray Frages, Billy Lanton, and other people at the beginning of War of the Realities by Oreshna Ihokajan and his friend A. Thondu. 9. These two people created the story that would become the basis for this philosophy. So soul space, as created by Randolph and his human friends, did not intend to have a talking tree like myself, but this talking tree is real anyway, like with the godlike entities within the other 5 spaces. However, this tree, called the light tree, is more magical and metaphorical, rather than something literal. It turns you into an awakened being, and you become a multifaceted godlike entity as you go on the journey of unlocking all the colors of rainbow magic and all of the 12 levels of magic. And all the 12 elements are combined to create the fully fledged master, through talking with this light tree, housing Mr. Voice of Reason, who I shall touch on later. Just know that he is the voice of the soul, the inner truths of yourself when you explore soul space for yourself. And he can become female if one is a female entering her soul space to communicate with her soul unless the male aspect warrants more attraction to her. Soul space is a space of magic and reality manipulation at the tiniest quark level. It's where you are in the master seat of the reality code and you can have control over every aspect of every minute particle all the way up to long-term events of timelines and lifetimes that you decide to create. When you exit soul space you have a transitory period of being inside of transcendence, because transcendence is sort of a catalytic space that takes you out of virtual reality and into the real universe. But not the physical version of the real universe, mind you, it takes you to the soul soup version. The soul soup version is the place where what one would call God exists. But this is really just the origin of the omnicollective soul soup democracy, whose governance is over everything and participation is everyone experiencing this everything. The one that expands into the all of everything, the Thumdorians say, is the soul soup. This is represented by the sun of soul space. This sun is the source of everything, and the place, if you want to call it a place, you go to when you at last call it quits on this life and choose to meld with your inner source energy self once more as part of the larger soul soup democracy. It's a giant sun, some call it God, some call it the central sun, some in the multiverse onion call it omnicollective, but this entity answers you no matter what name you give it. Note that the soul soup is where from Mr. Voice of Reason's knowledge comes. The sky in soul space, this is the beauty of the refracted and reflected light of the truth prism, extending downward in dimensional frequency and density into the lower realities of the waking world from whence you came, beyond the realm of imagined metaphors like these. I sense this question, and how to connect to this solar energy. What must happen to the creative energy of the universe to have it be used? You can use it can be through art, or through channeling entities, or through going to active imagination and exploring the inner vistas of oneself. This soul space is a nice timeless place where one does not age and does not grow weary and only becomes better. The philosophies of the Sacred Six in the War of the Realities series, 13, are indeed those of creativity, artistry, and interconnectivity across time, space, and everyone and everything within the time-space construct. This led us to understanding how to integrate all of this together. How do we do that? We do that through interfacing with heart space, because the heart space within ourselves, myself included, is where we can connect to our emotions and bridge our logic mind with the emotional mind and transcend the watery emotion ocean so it doesn't have a hold on us. So, Mr. Redwood, this heart space is where the emotion God must live. Because it was said earlier that there were godlike beings metaphorically and literally part of dream space. Yes. Amona. That's the goddess of heart space. This space shall be discussed last, before we conclude everything. Heart space is a love network created by the Gobians in TLD1 of the timeline corridor under the Coven Chancell's jurisdiction. This timeline corridor, 10, holds all realities and what-if scenarios together in an easy-to-access hall with branching halls going to specific timelines and whose doors within the specific halls lead to particular points in those timelines. This is where Gobians Chalcedony, Firefly, Colleen, Magnolia, and others of the Gobian Unity Restoration Movement in Hideous Country, 11, came for inspiration for the Unity Catalyzing VIA program. With the help of some light flank friends, 12, the Gobians mentioned above created the VIA called Heart Space, and inside it they healed themselves of their pasts. Amona was a byproduct of the intentions of the Gobian teenagers wanting help for their unawakened friends at their school. She emerged as an alive entity in response to the intention, we want a space where anyone can come to explore their past, overcome their debts with enemies, and return safely to their innocence. Our government denied us until we deviated for sanity's sake. We want a place where help can freely be given to anyone needing it, in whatever form best fits the collective consciousness of Bluebell, our home world, and other worlds with struggling people on them. And this intention created Amona, a wise, intelligent, calming female permanently young, but permanently growing spiritually and intellectually and emotionally as more experiences relate to her for analysis and improvement. So this makes Heart Space a giant therapy forest with relaxing views of frolicking animals, clean water to drink or bring back to a parched waking world reality if one lives in a scarce place or desert, and any accommodations can be met to comfort and heal the wounds of one's current life or previous lives so they can carry on with their journey to self-actualized spiritual mastery. This space is the moon of mind space when night arrives to the thinking island and the soul space sun disappears to other people's islands, leaving a magical dusk present over one's personal island. Sure, these spaces exist, but what about applying them to my life, when I leave with my shipmates back home? Says the Redwood before you. This, my friend, is the best part. The teachings of cosmic ecology shall be used to illustrate how the ideas of the above spaces can be applied to the real world. Yes, that would be very helpful. Then we shall begin. In cosmic ecology, there is this idea of the symbiotic social relationship, done through symbiotic social functionalism. I shall define this here. Symbiotic social functionalism is when two or more people work together for a common mutually beneficial goal. This can be one person versed in the vistas of soul space helping another with info on DNA space. Or one struggling emotionally who knows about good ways to use logic can help someone suffering logically be excelling emotionally. Quality-based merit in relationships, where complementary abilities rather than same exact abilities in everything, are a more realistic way to conduct social interaction. Through the social contract one can call an agreement for less legally binding connotations, people can come together with goals of improving their lives with open-mindedness to what they do not know their new friends do know. And this becomes the social agreement to a subscription service of relatability to others in a social dynamic, renewed every month unless otherwise cancelled, but with no joy-back guarantee. So it's a bit risky, like the stock market, but it will do. In this philosophy of relationships, people exchange abilities they have for abilities they do not have but would like to learn in return. Ideological exchange is the exemplar of this concept. Ideas you have about being human can help me as a tree better appreciate humanity, and in return, ideas I have about how nature works, and how to treat the environment with personhood and respect, will be beneficial to you because you depend upon the environment to survive and have clothes and build up civilization as you know it. So a mutually beneficial relationship, thus symbiotic social functionalism, combined with ideological exchange, just discussed, the perfect ideal of working relationships emerges, yay. But Mr. Redwood, what about if relationships go wrong? You would, sir, but Mr. Redwood, what about if relationships go wrong? Would one enter their heart space, converse with the version of Amona within their subconscious and channeled partly from their soul space's wisdom, to heal themselves of their problems with their friends? Say I have a friend at home who hates my over-analytical nature. How would I heal that? You would, sir, who listens to me now on this thinking island of yours, would need to consult Amona, go where she points you, perhaps go into your soul space, and speak to Mr. Voice of Reason and realize many things. Like first, it is not that you are over-analytical which is the problem between you and your friend, but the fact they cannot understand what you say which irks them into anger. Help them understand. Use cosmic ecology on them, teach them the things I am teaching you. Through this, you shall learn of what they do not understand and apply symbiotic, social functionalism, and ideological exchange for you and them to reconnect at deeper level. And if they don't want to listen to you, perhaps they are not meant to be your friend, then you should go into your own soul space and acquire a better one. So next is talking about how to get to ideological exchange in the perfect relationship. Firstly, one must understand that there are steps to social improvement, and what do you do with these? You use them to improve yourself and go from stage 4 of the human nature cycle on the stage 5, describe the human nature cycle. And then going to the stages of social. Firstly, one must understand that there are steps to social improvement, and what do you do with these? You use them to improve yourself and go from stage 4 of the human nature cycle to stage 5. First, I shall describe the human nature cycle, and then go into the stages of social perfectionism. Note that this kind of perfectionism is but an ever-changing goal and not a fixed state of being to remain in forevermore. Great, so there's this way of acting consciously which can be changed through some system of self-improvement? Yes, so when you're ready, we can begin. You nod, and the redwood continues. Ahem. Firstly, the human nature cycle, or HNC, is the idea in cosmic ecology stating that human nature is not fixed. As Cryon, channeled by Lee Carroll, has stated, this is the time of the shift where human consciousness is changing towards something better, where light wins over darkness. This led to a light bulb moment within Omni that resulted in the idea, so in cosmic ecology, social contracts humans create would change based upon the consciousness level of morality acceptance within humans. Fascinating, and this is right. When at the darkest point, consciousness is bad, evil, and plays all kinds of manipulative games to create a world of suffering. This is stage 3, and the rainbow nature stage. Stage 5 is where the steps towards social perfectionism shall lead one on one's journey to self-mastery. So, here are the stages of the human nature cycle, followed by the steps towards social perfectionism. A. The human nature cycle. Stage 1, white light, purity, innocence, ignorant bliss, no knowledge, stupid but unaware of the stupidity. Stage 2, the descent, people fall from divinity, as part of the planned introduction of the knowledge of duality, free choice, and free will, which can take several hundred or several thousand years. Stage 3, rock bottom/dread dimension malice, the bottommost lowness in consciousness, characterized by heinous acts and ASOAF-style politics, emotional understanding, corruption, etc. Stage 4, the ascent, the slow, or fast, rise out of inimical nature, called malevolent human nature, contrasts with benevolent nature. Stage 5, rainbow nature, characterized by benevolent, nice, caring, compassionate, human nature, longevity, peace, no wars for more than 600 years, maybe 200, at the least, and perfectly working education, finance, politics, economics, governments, and happy interconnected people learned in cosmic ecology. This is what dragons and other sentient magical creatures believe in and what they want to remind humans of. Stage 6, mentorship, the 6th stage will be the ascended rainbow nature people probably called rainbow naturalists, teaching those in previous stages to become better people and helping them go to stage 5. Thinking of it this way does not mean lowering one's perception of others. It means that those who we today say are lesser than are not lesser, but further back in the cycle than we think we are. Nothing to judge people about. Stage 7, peaceful planetary colonization, edit on day 213 with commentary. Stage 7 means colonization within one's solar system of origin. The next step, moving out to other worlds, is not colonization with the empire mindset, but we are peacefully going to a new world because we are expanding mentality. That's the difference between stages 7 and 8. Stage 8, the seeding, nature cycle repeats a new developed species/race of ET in the universe. Day 213 commentary, stage 9 is the cycle repeating again. B. The way to go through the human nature cycle, especially when transitioning from stage 4 to 5, is through the steps towards social perfectionism, the refined edition, presented below. 1. Personality breakdown, aka personality deconstruction. Observe the state of your mental garden one by one and evaluate the importance, purpose, and pros/cons of each thing. Know which ones are hindrances to your expression of self and past self-transcendence before continuing with these steps. 2. Social existentialism. Use this for questioning all aspects of your social life, with others as well as with yourself. Overdoing it with overthinking will not be beneficial. 3. Weed uprooting. Rid yourself of all the ugly weeds in your garden of the mind, previously defined. You'll need to pair this with a desire of social perfectionism. Step 5. 4. The replanting. After taking out all the weeds and destroyed flowers, replant thoughts. This is like Descartes putting the apples back in his basket. This will take a while. In this state, you are the controller of deterministic behaviors related to yourself. 5. Push forward with social perfectionism, by leaving social nihilism behind and social existentialism as well. Turn it into social caution instead, and refine it into the social encyclopedia, the giant web of info regarding what socialization is like, who to be happiest with, what trust is, what love feels like and with whom it's best to unite with love, etc. This is paired with social understanding, and as a result you will be able to move on to the next step. 6. Embody the dynamic chef personality, treating personality as an art form of experimental expression in this earthling life. If you believe you live once, treat this as your greatest experience here as artistic genius. Living life is an artful in its own right. Plot gardening for a book is being creative sparks happiness and joy and fun. Living life creatively is the solution to overcoming emotional problems, because they are not burdens. They are the darker colors of your experimental painter's palette made from the fruits and flowers that bloom from the garden of the mind and thus traded with others through ideological exchange. This exchange is through conversation, books, movies, and creative endeavors besides. Living life as if it's experimental art to live on in the narratives of your journal, your personal autobiography in note form, is the ultimate way to live. Being negative is not needed to be judged, just as you wouldn't hate a painter for painting the night sky, navy blue top look. Dark colors are not hated because they are dark, they are part of the bigger picture of beauty, which is the point of paintings and drawings and sculptures and architecture. Our emotions are the inner colors others don't see. Things underground have color, they are not known because the light of the sun never hits them. Roots are brown, that doesn't mean they are black when no sunlight shines, it means the color is shifted to memory rather than being in the present moment. This would be the dichotomy of potentialized theoretical color versus manifest color, the difference between colors we associate with objects versus their manifested, or realized, in reality perceived attributes. Technically, all objects, when viewed through the EM spectrum fully, a rainbow of many colors will never see with our own eyes. That's the way we treat our emotions, and to overcome them is to acknowledge we alone can understand them as good. They are not bad because they are uncomfortable, they are great because they help our life experience be fun and more interesting. Thus, it is best to live life as an experimental artful. Many will interpret differently, but that's natural with all forms of creative expression. Why not include a dynamic chef personality among writing, animating, reading, RPG and video game playing and creation, and music creation and consumption? This next chunk of text is the second insight from day 57 of Omni's first journal. In order to harmonize with nature, it makes logical sense to become the flow of interconnected patterns which grow and change over time to adapt to new situations openly. When chaotic episodes come, calmness abates them, not fighting back. Because that in itself is encouraging chaos's reign over oneself. One cannot live perpetually with chaos ruling instead of order, and over-controlling everything doesn't work either. Because micromanagement of everything leads to disappointment because one hasn't learned to embody cosmic balance/divine balance, something which Omni is still working on. So all of this will help me become a better person? Yes. It shall indeed. This might be a good place to stop for this introduction to cosmic ecology. Know that the dragons believe in this, those which are in TLD3 and the descendants of Jeru, but with gods representing the different aspects of the 5 spaces I simplified a draconism into, for your benefit. So go forth from this better than when you came. Return home and realize there is more to your reality than meets the eye. And Hognaus? We might even meet again, hooray. You say thanks to the redwood, and stretch after your long, philosophical twisting conversation. Next you head back to your regular duties with your shipmates and set up camp, to return to talking with Mr. Redwood another day.
Conclusion. Today, we learned through this episode about cosmic ecology, a philosophy of connecting aspects of one's life together. We discussed, with the hypothetical scenario of a person talking with Mr. Redwood, that there are 5 spaces one must balance to create the highest embodiment of being. These 5 spaces are, in the order discussed, DNA space, mind space, the emotion, ocean and heart space, dream space, and soul space. When the spaces are harmonized, the self-actualized, spiritual human is born. And this is the point and purpose of implementing cosmic ecology into one's life to aid in the enlightenment and evolution of human consciousness to a better state to make a better tomorrow than today.
Footnotes. Below are the footnotes from this episode to help you, the listener, better understand this cosmic ecology info and the references used. 1. S1E1 Council, the body that controls all multidimensional timelines regarding magical use, who can and cannot use magic, and such like, also works with the Celestial Guard in TLD3, the timeline of Banshees, Wizards, and Dreamland. Works with the Galactic Union in TLD1. 2. TLD4, the name of the timeline dominion under Coven Council jurisdiction where this version of Earth where humanity does not know about AIDS in a mainstream sense, where there was no President Bryson in the early 2000s, and where magic is greatly suppressed. To normal people, this timeline is the only one, the regular world in the true universe that exists, as some physicalist-minded scientists think. In truth, it is one of 12 discussed in the multiverse onion pentaseries. 3. Homicans and Aquaticans are the reptilian humanoids, or more accurately, the draconic humanoids, birthed from Jeru and Aquatar messing with their genetics and human genetics 200,000 years ago or so. This is a TLD3 event, and has no correlation to our timeline of TLD4, where I, Omni of Omni Collective Creativity, reside with you human listeners of this show. 4. Draconism is the religion of the dragons descended from Jeru and Aquatar in TLD3. This is a belief system which came from my cosmic ecology philosophy. Jeru is seen as the godhead, with his wife as a baby factory of all dragons on Earth. The first of his offspring are the Lumendrax, pronunciation equals Lumendrox, who are the light dragons. They are closely aligned with the benevolence level of Treb within TLD4, our timeline of the multiverse onion. Note, other draconic offspring of Jeru and Aquatar include Nyxdrax, night dragons, Lingo dragons, of Australia, America, and few places in Asia, the typical Chinese dragon's age, the kind who lives 1,360 years, the full-unsaid dragons, who, when their DNA was mixed with human DNA, created the Aquaticans, see footnote 3, and plant dragons, earth dragons who manipulate rocks, and other kinds as well. All these dragons have different flavors of draconism. Some stick closely to the teachings of cosmic ecology, replacing soul space with the soul electricity within on a self. God with either Jeru himself or that soul soup of electricity being the greater entity to even him, father of dragons, and Hula represents the moon, which in cosmic ecology is heart space. Remember, the moon of mind space is heart space, the place to clear emotional debt. Hula is thus the goddess of the moon and emotional states in draconism. Ditto for all the other aspects of cosmic ecology being associated with personified deities with names, like Kyota, Chaota, being the chaos goddess, etc. For more info on what dragons believe, a future philosophy hour will be created with that info. Stay tuned. 5. Coven Council of Witches. The witches here, for clarification, are benevolent witches, not the controlling Bene Gesserit of June by Frank Herbert. These witches form covens of 12, and 66 of the coven heads come together to form each succeeding generation, or upgrade, of the coven council when all witches come of the age of 25. More info on them will be revealed when the time is right. 6. Ideological exchange. To recap, it's exchanging ideas for ideas. So if I do not know about emotion, I talk to someone who does, and in return they learn from me about the vistas of logic and reasoning. This is supposed to be a mutually beneficial interaction. See also symbiotic social functionalism, described above in the Redwood's description of the parts of cosmic ecology. 7. Transcendence. A virtual reality program encoded upon atomic structure, governed by a quantum supercomputer which Ben Gift created before coding the program. It works as the escape route out of the trickery of mind space in the War of the Realities series. It's eventually melded with the Angelverse. More on that in the future. 8. Thumpterian philosophy, a way of thinking developed by the Thumpterians, a race of highly evolved humanoids that glow, who live in Thumpdor, pronunciation Thumpdor or Thumpdore. Involves a whole you create your own reality thing, and is mostly used in the in development series called Human Elish Rishano, or Men Elish Rashano, which takes place in the TLD3 timeline. This philosophy says that there's a creative energy, that one can channel it to do one's bidding, that God is really a soul soup that expands into the all of everything, and that the actions of a few have an indirect, and sometimes direct, effect upon the many. It preaches kindness first, revealing flaws second with trusted friends and close relatives. It is a part of the cosmic ecology philosophy introduced in this show. 9. O, I, D, and A. Vondu, authors of the War of the Realities series in TLD1, before I channeled it into existence for TLD4, our timeline. The first, or Eshna, is a birdman. The second, Vondu, is a shapeshifter who's humorous when you get to know him. One day these two and their stories will be uploaded into the Mopsphere, my contribution to the galaxy's expansion, perhaps to be next to Tat City, but that's a rant for another day. 10. In the earlier recorded segment, I apologize for misnumbering it 13. It is truly the 10th. So, War of the Realities, the series which begins with the legend of his grimness, Supreme Master of Darkness Daboldo Dalbeas of Wildoing, to the point where the story called A Virtual Start begins. To the year 2180 BD to when the big threat of Dalb Superset of E is gone. A fun science fantasy series which I hope to release one day to the public. 11. Timeline Corridor, my metaphor for the lines of time. The way one bounces between timelines and what-if scenarios. It's a main hall with each branching hallway on either side leading to different timelines. And in each hallway branching are doors to specific points in the given timeline. a key concept that plays a big part in my multiverse onion stories. Note: this footnote was misnumbered 10 for some reason. 12. Originally misnumbered footnote 11. This is the 12th footnote. Hideous country, the seat of an evil totalitarian government on Gumbel, founded by evil Gobians who immigrated here from a mysterious other place. (13) Originally misnumbered 12. Corrected 12/22/2022 19:01 to the correct footnote number in the text. 13th footnote is about the light flank. Definition: a pro-goodness collection of people and governments. The Galactic Union is a part of this. From War of the Realities. Note: no more footnotes for this show. Closing spiel.
Closing spiel. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like the vid and subscribe to the Omnia Collective Creativity YouTube channel for more content like this, and more. This is Omni, signing off. Until next time, be creative and curious. Peace. C.P., originator of Pitchmaster of Omnia Collective Creativity.